The first speaker is Joumana Haddad, who is Lebanese and a writer and a journalist, and is running for the Lebanese Parliament in the forthcoming elections there. So welcome very much to you, and we're very, very interested to hear what you have to say. Over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for granting me the honor of speaking here today. My gratitude goes to those who recommended me to participate in this hearing. I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. Let me start with the bad news. We Arab women are more than ever living in the era of sexism. The era where we are subjected to sex slavery in Syria and Iraq. The era where we cannot pass our nationality to our children in Lebanon. The era where we are practically owned by our so-called legal guardians in Saudi Arabia. The era where our rapists escape any prosecution if they marry us in Kuwait or Bahrain. The era where we are still sold as child brides in Yemen and many other countries. The list of examples and forms of discrimination, whether legal or social, against Arab women could go on indefinitely. Female political representation in the Arab world is appalling. In Lebanon, for example, out of 128 deputies, a mere 4 are women. 4 out of 128 deputies. It doesn't matter if many of us are strong, emancipated, highly educated, and financially independent. The laws, customs, and religious leaders of our countries keep humiliating us and putting us in our place. And what is our place? A tiny, obscure corner in the big patriarchal Arab world. The corner where a rib belongs, obviously. Now let me move on to the good news. The situation of women is not much better in the Western world. This is the good news. Despite the laws that have been set in place decades ago, female political representation is still not what it should be, not even here in the European Parliament. There are still salary discrepancies between European men and women. Sexual harassment in the West is a plague, as we saw after the Me Too movement. Violence against women in Europe, including femicide by partners and ex-partners, is appalling. The data, statistics, and graphs are available at several trusted sources and websites. How can this be good news, you must be thinking? Relax. I'm surely not one of those who rejoice at other people's misfortune. The reason I call this information, this horrible information, a good news, is simply because it is bound to make the sleeping Western women wake up. And trust me, and I say this with total humility and in spirit of sisterhood, Western women need to wake up. It should be no revelation to many of you, and Mrs. Arena has already said that, if I declare that there was a certain dangerous slackening in women's issues in the West. A feeling of, now we deserve to rest and enjoy our victories after all the good battles our predecessors have fought since the 60s of the 20th century. In principle, you did indeed deserve to rest after all those wonderful conquests you and your mothers have achieved. But in practice, unfortunately, this is not permitted. Not to us women. Because you see, patriarchy is like a fairy tale monster dragon. Every time we cut its head, it has the ability to grow a new one. So we need to keep on cutting and cutting, or else it will devour us and whatever rights we have managed to earn over the years. Those of us who do not move forward are not standing still. They are going backwards. Bottom line is, I know that there are so many wrong things happening in the Arab world today regarding women's basic rights, roles, and opportunities. But does this mean there's nothing wrong with the Western world? That the West is perfect and the East is doomed? Not at all. We are all committing mistakes. We are all not doing enough, and we are all responsible for the damages we are incurring, each in our own way. Again, how is this good news? You must still be thinking. This is good news because we Arab women need you European women to be alert and in fight mode next to us and with us. This is good news because only when women come together and forcefully demand changes are we able to get rid of the in-place laws that define, constrict, humiliate, and harm us. This is good news because if Arab and European women joined efforts and took a vow to help each other, to own their choices, to stand in the face of injustice, to say no to humiliation, to not participate in any elections unless these elections bring an end to the forms of discrimination against them, to not participate in any advertising campaign that treats them like commodities, to not let their daughters face the same double standards or oppression that they have faced. If we did that, then we could start a real revolution, a real spring. You know, we love this word in the Arab world. Not just an Arab spring, but I dare say a universal spring. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, and I'm surely happy to see some male faces here. I'm one of those feminists who believe in men as partners in this honorable fight, and I'm proud to say that I have raised 2 feminist men myself. By now, you should know that I did not come here to complain to you. We are all well aware of the dreadful state of women's rights in my part of the world. No, I did not come here to complain to you. I came to provoke you. We need action. We need a plan, and fast. The sad thing is, we are increasingly surrendering to the pressure of political correctness. In this liberal West, sometimes even more than in the conservative East, there are so many social situations where most women find themselves reacting the way they were told they should react in order to seem politically correct. Enough with that. We need more intimidating, politically incorrect women who refuse to be bullied or silenced or intimidated or shamed. Women who take the initiative and do not simply wait for better things to come along. I have to say at this point that I can't understand how some Western feminists defend horrific repressive practices like child marriage and female genital mutilation, pretending it is in the name of cultural relativism and respect for Arab culture, while in most cases, let's say it, the real reason is fear of being labeled as racist or Islamophobic or right-wing partisans, and thereby they are choosing political correctness and political interests over honesty and justice. As if there was such a thing as Arab dignity versus Western dignity and Arab justice versus Western justice. It is about time we women dare to speak our minds especially when we don't have nice things to say. It is about time we put justice above the definitions of left and right politics, liberalism and conservatism, elitism and populism. It is about time we learn the subtle but fatal difference between political correctness and self-censorship or conformity or surrendering to intellectual harassment. Because in between the two, there is a great deal of hypocrisy, lies, and fake open-mindedness. Dear ladies and gentlemen, let us always keep in mind the human nature that unites us, regardless of our ideologies, nationalities, religions, races, and beliefs. It is only when we will reconcile with our collective humaneness and fight injustice wherever it lies that we will become real agents of change, all of us, women and men, and that our tired, broken, and unjust world will begin to heal. Thank you very much.